I would just encourage Prime Minister Carney to do what he thinks is best for the Canadian people, not his own virtue signaling.
There's a picture of Pierre Poilievre that's going viral right now on social media where you see him and his family on a plane sitting in the economy class, and the Conservative out there are praising him for being a true man of the people. That is not something that you would see Carney ever do. So the question is, Pierre Poilievre, is he really a man of the people, or was this just a massive photo op? Let's find out, shall we? My name is Nico Hagen, and I'm too conservative for the Conservatives. My co-host, Rob Ambrose, is not woke enough for the Liberals. We are the Political Orphans. So I know you guys out there saw it. You saw the picture, right? You saw the picture of Pierre Poilievre sitting in coach. I have it right here. Let's bring it up. Pow. Here is the picture that is going viral absolutely everywhere right now. Everywhere. Look, I was just on my phone right now waiting for the show to start. And that is the picture that is going viral all over the place. And when I saw that yesterday night, I think it was yesterday night or this morning, I can't remember. It seems like the days are so long now, and I don't sleep enough because I have a 6-month-old son. So I'm always confused when it comes to time. But when I saw this, the first thing that came to mind is like photo op. And I start browsing through X. I start browsing through Instagram. Every single social media I'm on, all I can see is this picture everywhere. All the social media account of the conservative, the air quote conservatives out there, are showing this picture. And they're claiming, hey, you would never see Mark Carney do that. So what's the first question that came to mind when I saw that? I'm like, is this really Pierre Poilievre the way he is normally? Or is this just a massive photo op? Because let's be honest here. This week, starting today, it's a national convention for the Conservatives, and it's taking place in Calgary. Imagine how coincidental it must be that the day of the convention, Pierre Poilievre is going viral everywhere on social media, and that picture is being reshared by every single conservative account that's actually those guys are actually in Calgary to attend the convention. So it must be just a big coincidence, or is Pierre Poilievre a man of the people? Rob, you want to answer that question? I see you're here. Do you want to answer that question? Is Pierre Poilievre a man of the people? Or is that all just a massive photo op?
I mean, he clearly wants you to think that's he's the one who leaked this, right? Like he's the one who had someone take this picture, I think.
Oh yeah, massive. It was just a coincidence. It was an accident of somebody on the plane.
Oh, look, it's like I don't know if you remember those, like, you know, those celebrity magazines like Us or Star, and they would have a piece that's like, stars, they're just like us. And it shows, like, you know, Paris Hilton getting a coffee. Oh, she drinks coffee too. That kind of stuff. I feel like that's the vibe that I got from this. You know, and I think I feel like in some ways this is why it's so, you know, kind of unfortunate for a politician to get a reputation like Pierre does, as in someone who would do this kind of thing, right? Someone who's not very authentic. Because for all we know, maybe he actually is just, you know, trying to be, maybe he just doesn't think that he's better than anyone else. And he thinks that it's appropriate for him to, he doesn't want to spend taxpayer money on first class. But even if that were the case, no one's going to believe it because he's got a reputation of being inauthentic, right?
Well,
so,
you know, 2 Cents is saying Pierre Poilievre has always flown coach, not a secret. Actually, brother, I went through his expenses and I can tell you that is incorrect. And I will show you how, I will show you why, I will show you the numbers. But the numbers don't add up. And I use, just to put it into perspective, guys, I used to be a sales engineer for big corporations. And guess what? I had expense accounts too. I know exactly how expenses work. I know how to create those reports. I know what to put on expenses, what not to put on expenses, and how to make my expenses look smaller. Carol is saying, who cares? Well, here's why it matters. Here's exactly why it matters. Already, as Rob is saying, he doesn't have a good image. Already people think he's fake. Already politicians don't have a good image. People all think they're fake. Do you trust your politicians? I don't. I don't know a lot of people that do. But, you know, that's why it matters. Because at the end of the day, those guys work for us. Their salaries, their pensions, their travel, their expenses are paid by us, taxpayers' money. So let's look at the numbers. Let's look at actual facts like I like to look at. So let's start at the beginning. Let's start with his salary. His salary, he has the MP base salary that it's $209,800 a year. So $210,000 a year. As the leader of the opposition, he has a top off of $99,900, so $100,000, meaning that Pierre Poilievre makes about $310,000 a year, which puts him in the 1% of Canadian earners. The average salary in Canada, $68,500. But if you look at the real number that they normally use, they call it the median salary, meaning that this is the number right in the middle where there's 50% of the people that are under that salary and 50% of the people that are above that salary, which is $44,200 a year. That means Pierre Poilievre makes 4.5 times the average salary and 7 times the median salary. I don't know for you, but somebody that is in the 1% of salaries in Canada, is he really somebody? Can you really call him a man of the people? Now let's talk pension, because don't forget, he's an MP. He's been an MP for over 20 years already. His full pension is already racked. So his full pension is already maxed out. Pierre Poilievre was elected in 2004 at the age of 25, which means right now, as we speak, he has his 20 years of service. At 65, it's estimated, that's if he wants his full pension, because you're capable of taking your pension at 55 years of age, but that means you're losing 1% of your pension or your yearly pension per year early. So that would be 10% basically for him. But if he takes his pension at 65, it's estimated that he's going to make $230,000 a year for the rest of his life, for all the time that he's alive. And let's say that he lives until he's 90. He's going to be making between $7.5 to $8 million just in pension. Now, let's talk expense report, because this is all what we're talking about today. Like that big picture that everybody is sharing, that somebody in the airplane took, and obviously it was not anybody that he knew. Obviously, it was just an accident. But can you feel the sarcasm in that? Because I wanted, I did not comment on this. You can go on all my social media. I did not comment on this because I wanted to do the research first. Because for all I know, he does actually he does sit and coach every time. And that would be great. As somebody that works for the people, at least as much as I don't like Pierre Poilievre, if he did and the numbers showed that, I would have praised him for it. At least I would have said that it was true. But let's look at this right here. So I don't know if you guys know that, but you can actually find the expense reports of our PMs, of our MPs. That's all public knowledge. This is on ourcommons.ca. You can find their expense report. Just so you know, the expense report right now for last year, the 2025, have not been filed yet. Because obviously it's like their taxes. It's at the end of the fiscal year, which is in March, just like you and I. So the last one that's filled out is the one we're looking at right now. So here's the expense report, and you can see like it tracks absolutely everything that he did in that quarter. So we're talking quarterly. We're talking from October 1st, 2024 to December 31st. So let's go no further than the exact first line that's right there. Ottawa to Toronto. So it says the date was on, that would be April 7th last year. April 7th. No, that doesn't make any sense. I hate when they put it on the, would that be right? Hold on. I hate when they put it that way, because it should be year, month. Yeah, it's year, month, day. So he left Ottawa to go to Toronto. $850.94. There's no accommodation. There's no meals. There's no meal cost. And it was on the same day. If you look, it's the same date. He left and he came back, meaning he probably just had what we call a round trip, right? He showed up, did what he had to do, left, and then he came back. That was in 2024. $850.94 just for transportation. Back in 2024, because obviously the price are always going up, so I went back to 2024. A two-way business class ticket between Ottawa and Toronto was between $800 to $1,000. A regular economy, like we saw where he was sitting today, that would have been between $150 to $300.
Is it that close?
What's the number?
How
what's that?
Like
what's that number?
How
the number's right here. 850.94.
Yeah, no, I just mean, is Ottawa and Toronto that close? Like that, must not be a very long flight. If
oh no, it's like I've done it multiple times. It's literally depending on which side you go. There's always one side that's a bit longer, but it's like 45 minutes. You know, it's really, you take off, you cruise for a tiny little while, and then you're already going down because it's just so freaking close. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere around 45 minutes. But $850. Which one do you think he took? Do you think he was in economy class between 150 and $300, or was he in business class that ranged between 800 and 1,000? I know what you're gonna say. That's only one. Blah blah blah. So okay, cool. We'll take another one right here. Ottawa to London, $941.52. That was another trip that he did.
There's no London, Ontario.
Well, yeah, I would imagine. I assume that it was London, Ontario. You don't fly to London for $941. You could be in the suitcase area. You ain't flying for $942 two ways, like back and forth.
If you look at those ones, yeah, the Ottawa Toronto was definitely first class, because Ottawa to Vancouver right below it, clearly that was business class, because that's only $483. So if Ottawa to Vancouver is $483, then for an $850 ticket from Ottawa to Toronto, that has to be business class. Has to be. So
$941.52. Again, there's nothing under accommodation. There's nothing under meal. But if you look at the date, he left on one day, came back the day after. And that is just right then and there. That is very problematic. And I'll tell you why. Because that's an overnight stay. There's no accommodation. So there's no hotel fee. There's no meal fee. That means that somebody paid for that. He was either come to room somewhere at a hotel, or he was meeting with another MP. Because right here it says support the PO and HO at an event meeting. So I would imagine we don't know what the PO HO are. I don't like the way that would have never worked in all the businesses I've ever worked for. This is not enough detail for my boss to say yay or nay on this. But all to say that support the PO/HO. I imagine that it is a conservative event where he's showing up as the party leader. The point is 941 and 52. Why it's problematic? One, we'll talk about prices, ticket prices in a second, but there's no accommodation and there's no meal for overnight. So somebody paid for that. One of the things that you could do, and that's one of the things that people in business do, is that somebody's going to pick up the tab. If you know you're running too much expenses already, and you have a coworker that's there, he'll pick up the tab for the hotel. He'll pick up the tab for the food. Do you know what I'm saying? So it doesn't make you a massive spender. But here is where it gets interesting, because if you look at a price in 2024 for this type of trip, and first and foremost, there is an international airport in London. It's a smaller one. They don't run flights as much as they would between Ottawa and Toronto. So the numbers I'm going to share with you is not a direct flight from Ottawa to London, because they barely never happen. There's not a lot of direct flights there. Most people that want to go to London, if you want to fly all the way, you're going to Toronto, probably Toronto Airport, Pearson, and then you're flying to London, but you're looking at a round trip ticket. You're looking between 350 and 450 bucks. This ticket is at 941 bucks. So you know that again, that does not look good. That is not a normal price for a ticket. And this is where it becomes very interesting, because I don't know if you saw those reports, but Pierre Poilievre has been in 2024. So they call it the 2024-2025 year, but we haven't seen the number for 2025 yet, like I explained earlier. But he is the one that had the most expense at $8.4 million. And the whole parliament in 2024-2025, he's the one that had the biggest expense report. Trudeau was at 4.2 million. So he was more than twice Trudeau. Sorry, 4.1 million for Trudeau. And Jagmeet Singh was the third one at about 3.7 million. So again, these numbers, I'm sure that I can dig. I just picked two. They're on the first page. They're two of the first ones. Out of three, there's two of them that the price don't work out for economy. It doesn't work out.
Yeah,
and even the one I can tell you that I did Montreal to it wasn't Vancouver, but it was in BC, and it wasn't 451 bucks. So even in economy, you can't find a flight at 450 bucks on two sides of the country back and forth. So he probably has points that he's using, because also that is something that we used to do as well. But the point is, his report does not look good. Like this, if I'm looking at those numbers, he's not traveling economy. He's traveling upgraded economy, meaning business class. So, and on average, those tickets are about 4 times the price. If you look at the average, if you look at low averages, you're looking at about 4 times the price is the average for business class, depending on your flight. Now, the real question is Pierre Poilievre a man of the people? I don't know for you, but somebody that's part of the 1% that spends a lot of tax, twice the amount that Trudeau spent in 2024, 2025, to me, it doesn't look good. Was it a photo op? Do you think it's a coincidence that this was on the day that he's going to the convention in Alberta, knowing that these flights are booked? I don't know if you've seen any of the posts, but everybody's saying that those flights between Ottawa and Calgary are absolutely booked with people that are going to the convention.
And all people.
There are a bunch of videos. Yeah, there's a bunch of people that are taking pictures, they're taking videos with Pierre Poilievre at the airport of it, like in Calgary, him leaving the plane. But here's the next question I had when I saw this. I'm like, okay, so the real question is the Conservative Party the party of the people? Because that's the association that we have, right? By default, we kind of associate the Liberals with the intellectual elite, right? We associate the Conservative Party representing more blue collars. Like you're thinking Alberta, you're thinking guys that work with their hands. You're thinking manly men. Not people that have done 5-10 years of university. They're doing, I'm not saying, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that they're any less intelligent. I'm just saying you're associating conservative with blue collar people in the same way as in the US they associate the Republican with the blue collar people, and the liberals slash Democrats more the elite, the university type people, right?
Yeah.
So,
Honestly, for me, I probably wouldn't care so much.
But hold on. Let me share more numbers for you just before you give your opinion. Yep. Let me share other numbers, because this one actually kind of blew my mind. So right now, there's a convention from the 29th to the 31st that's going on in Calgary. Do you know what the tickets are? Do you know how much the tickets are costing? Between $514 to $1,875 to almost $2,000. That is just to get in the door. Depending if you're a non-member observer like me or you, in order to show up there, we would have to give the maximum donation that is $1,775 plus $100 fee to get in. $1,875. If you're a member observer, if you're, let's say I pay $15 a year to be part of, to support the Conservative Party of Canada, to be a member, it's $900, $999 plus the $15. If you're a voting delegate, meaning you're one of the elected MPs, it's the same price. It's $1,014 because you have your $15. And if you are 14 to 25, it's $514, $499 plus $15. I don't know for you, man, but I don't know a lot of people that can swing in this economy, that can swing between $1,000 and $2,000 just for a ticket. But you have to think accommodation. Hotels right now, I was looking at hotel prices. You're looking at least $400 for 3 nights. You're looking at meals. You're looking at transport.
Oh, yeah.
Are you
It's
flying
not for,
there?
It's not for the regular.
You're talking
regular.
$2,000. You're talking anyway at least $1,500 to $2,000 at a minimum. And the other question to ask, and we've touched about this, we talked about this in the past. If the Conservative Party is the party of the people, why is it that it cost $300,000 to enter the leadership race? That is what, in 2022, the last time there was a leadership race, it was $300,000 in order to enter the leadership race. 200,000 of the 300 is non-refundable, and you had a compliance deposit of $100,000. That is refundable after the race if the candidate complied with the rules. So can you really say that the Conservative Party is the party of the people, that Pierre Poilievre is a man of the people? And yesterday you weren't there, but we had former Conservative MP Rob Anders on the show. And I'm paraphrasing, obviously, it's not his exact words, but like many people out there, they're saying that Pierre Poilievre is the best we got. But is he? Is he really the best we got? Or is it just impossible for a guy like me to run for the leadership of the Conservative Party because I can't fucking swing $300,000? Everywhere, like you look at this whole thing.
It's like what George Carlin says, right? It's a big club, and you ain't in it. So
can you really call Pierre Poilievre a man of the people?
I honestly, I would kind of find it refreshing if he just flew first class and just didn't, and was just like, yeah, you know what? I'm the leader of the party. I'm gonna fly first class. Like, fuck it.
Be honest.
The only issue I have with it is just when it's hypocritical, right? If you're regularly flying business class and then you do a Photoshop of the one time you fly coach just to get your man of the people credentials, I don't like that. A lot of people are sick of that shit. But if you're just honest, you're like, yeah, motherfucker, I'm flying first class because I'm the leader of the motherfucking party. I think people wouldn't have a problem with it. I wouldn't. I mean, it'd be a little annoying, but that's the way the world works. You're the head of something. You're the CEO. You're the big swinging dick. Yeah, you get some perks. And at the end of the day, there's a whole lot more problems facing Canada than that. But it's really just the hypocrisy of it. The photo op of it, right? I'm kind of surprised he didn't have an apple there with him, chewing on an apple there in coach.
But that's the whole point. Because
he's been trying to get.
But you're absolutely right.
Trying to get that Photoshop ever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the fact
that was his high watermark.
Why
he was chewing on that apple?
But you can't even ask why, because you see why. Because let's say that it's organic. Let's assume that all the content creators that are resharing that picture out there, and I don't believe it for a second, but I will play devil's advocate. Let's say that it's organic, that they're just resharing it because they're really impressed by Pierre Poilievre. They're sharing a lie. You look at his expense report, you clearly see that he does not fly economy. The numbers don't represent economy.
Coached.
You don't pay $950 to go to London, Ontario in the nosebleed in the back where we all sit. Well, at least, okay, I'll speak for myself. But See, I like how this is gonna. I can see some people in the comments that are not liking what I'm saying, but those are facts. I don't really give a fuck that you like them or not. It's just those are facts. At the end of the day, this is supposedly the leader of the Conservative Party, and that $8.4 million that he spent, this is our money. This is taxpayers' money. That's literally he spent as much as his total pension. His pension is going to be between $7.5 to $8 million. He spent more than that in a year, while Trudeau, that's renowned for printing money for just fucking spending our cash, spent twice as less. And I'm not saying that 4.1 million is okay. All I'm saying is 8.4 is stupid amount of money on expenses. So is he really a man of the people? No, he's not. That's clear that he is.
Yeah, well, especially considering Trudeau is the prime minister, right? You'd expect him to have some expenses, but Poilievre was simply the leader of the opposition, and he's got double expenses. Yeah, that doesn't sit right. And again, like I said, there's bigger problems facing the country, but it does go back to, I think, this sort of image that a lot of conservatives have, at least just my impression of talking to them, that Poilievre doesn't really care about winning election. I think he's comfortable. I think he's comfortable in the opposition. Just, he gets his perks, he gets his ticket, his first class tickets. He gets his pension, he gets all those things. And, I think a lot of of the conservatives that don't like him, I think that's a big issue that they have, is this feeling like, where's the urgency, bro? There's real problems here to fix. And, you seem very comfortable. Just you don't seem like you're, it seems a bit like kabuki theater, right? It like pro wrestling. We use the analogy here a lot. It doesn't, the sense of urgency doesn't match the moment, I think.
No, and it's not going to stop, because he's not going to lose that vote of confidence that's happening tomorrow. Well, over the weekend, he's not going to lose that.
No.
So is it so?
Yeah,
again,
and to be fair,
but hold on. There's somebody in the comment that Yo Daddy, actually, by the way, guy, I really like your comments, but he was saying, Nico, you should run. Not that I have any aspiration to be in politics, but can somebody regular, just a regular guy, can they really run to become the leader of the Conservative Party? Let's say that is the goal, that we want a real conservative, somebody, just a regular dude that understands what Canada is all about. $300,000. Forget the signatures that you need. Forget all the paperwork that you need to file. Just the money. Can you really make that happen? Can the average Canadian out there spend 200 grand non-refundable and a deposit of 100 grand? That tells you right there.
And that's why. And of course they can't. And that's why it's there, right? And just, because I saw a few comments of people saying like, oh, who cares? Like, who cares where he's flying? And yeah, I get that sentiment. There's definitely bigger issues, bigger fish to fry. But I mean, it does matter, right? Because he's on his way to a convention where they're going to vote on who's going to be the leader of the Conservative Party. And if he's selling this image of, common man of the people, presumably, if you're a conservative, it matters to you who is the leader of the Conservative Party. So yeah, I mean, if he's doing sort of like manipulation and image manipulation in order to make sure he remains the leader, yeah, I mean, that is relevant. That is a reason.
If he's but I push it even further than that. If he's doing it on something so easily to prove to be wrong, what else is he doing on things that are extremely hard for people to prove? It took me a couple hours to just go through his expenses, just do some research, and I can prove that he's not sitting in coach when he flies normally. The numbers don't lie. The expense report is right there. So if he assumes that we're too stupid to go check, what else is he lying about? That's how I see it. If you're ready to lie about the tiny, nobody would have cared if he was in first class or he was in business class.
No. That's what I mean. You expect
we
it from the leader
him
of the
exactly.
Party. Yeah, sure.
Yes. Okay. Let's. We have guests in the back. Are you guys ready to go? Thumbs up.
And just
Thumbs up,
the
Dean?
final thing on this issue is, you know, he knew there were going to be a ton of eyeballs on him for this flight. All the other flights, no one pays attention to. So, you know, it certainly does kind of make it a little bit not a good look when, like, the one time you know you're going to have a bunch of eyeballs, you know, you're like, oh, hey, I'm a man of the people.
It's not very organic, is it?
All right, we're ready.
No.
No.
Guys, we are joined by friend of the show, independent journalist Jason Levine, and filmmaker Dean Rainey to speak about their new documentary, The Sean Hartman Story. But before we do speak about it, before we bring them on the show, I want us to play the trailer for this video, and then we will bring them on. So guys in the back, please be patient. Oh, nice. Did you just delete my damn video?
Yeah, I've never seen this.
Thanks a lot, bro. No, no, I think you deleted my video that was at the bottom. Yeah, it was there and then it disappeared. Hold on. I'll bring it back up.
My bad.
It's okay. I'll bring it back up. No worries. I'll bring it back up. You're liberal after all, so I expect you to do things like that. Here we go. Let's play it.
No. I see two of them now.
Cincinnati, where medical personnel have been working on Bill Safety Damar Hamlin for the last 9 minutes. Hamlin made a hit, got up, took a couple of steps, and then just fell to the ground.
In 2021, with the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccines, we witnessed cardiac arrests in athletes like we've never seen before.
The evidence is getting stronger all the time, to the point, in my opinion, where it's difficult to argue that the vaccine has not had terrible consequences.
Multiple research reports show that heart inflammation risks tied to the vaccines may be far greater and maybe even more dangerous than previously reported, particularly among young men.
Unfortunately, my only son had to have a shot to play hockey. He was forced into it, coerced into it, told it was safe and effective. After my son Sean took his first Pfizer shot, he was found dead on the floor beside his bed on the morning of September 27, 2021.
There's tens of thousands of others, children, that have been severely harmed by this COVID-19 gene therapy.
And so we launched a lawsuit against Pfizer for wrongful death. We also launched a lawsuit against the government of Canada for fraud and deceit.
I miss my boy, and I want him back, and I know he's never coming back. And the combination of rage and sadness is powerful. People, please join me in the fight and help me beat them. For Sean and for everybody.
Oh, you got the old flurry too. Nice.
So, guys, let's welcome to the show Dean Rainey and Jason Levine. Guys, thank you for your patience. Thanks for being here. It's a subject that I talk about all the time because I create a lot of content with Vaccine Choice Canada. Sean is somebody I've been trying to get on the show to speak to. So, guys, thank you for what you're doing because God knows this is not an easy topic to cover.
Hey, thanks for having us on, Nico and Rob, and twice in a week. I feel very lucky.
Yeah. Great to see you again, Jason.
That's almost too much. Almost. So
now we love you.
So, Dean, we can't hear you.
We don't have your audio.
No, I was saying this is a very quiet. I understand why he's behind the camera now. So tell us while we're waiting for Dean to join or to. He's good now. Is he?
Yeah.
No, still can't hear you.
Oh, still can't hear you.
He'll get
you're hearing voices. Oh yeah. So let's talk about how'd you get involved with this? Because I didn't even know. I thought we were friends, man. I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Well, it's been several months. When I went out east to do that tour, and you knew about that tour. I was out there filming for Alberta Self-Determination, and somebody sent me a link to this movie called "Why Can't We Talk About This?" And it was Dean's movie talking about a situation where a vaccine-injured man is realizing after taking the vax that he has been injured by the vax. And the first thing I noticed about this movie was it was on YouTube, which was a shock to me because at the time, YouTube was cutting off anybody talking about the vax. So I listened to it because I was driving down the 401 towards Toronto, listening to it. I was just blown away at the coverage that he did in the movie he put together. So I kind of felt inspired to reach out to him and talk to him. First, how did you stay on YouTube? And he kind of told me, well, it looks like they moved on to the Ukraine and Russia stuff, so they're not going after people anymore. And Dean, we still don't have your audio. But then I reached out to Dan because Global TV was doing some coverage of vax injury and didn't cover Dan and the public stuff. They did on the online stuff, but not on the public stuff. So I reached out and asked, hey, I'm around. Do you mind if I swing by and start filming you? I'm thinking about putting together Sean's story and getting it out there because this is now something we can talk about thanks to Dean's movie. And one thing led to another. Chris Shoemaker interviewed him, did some more interviews, and Dean reached out and said, hey, I got some time. I'd love to help you out. And one thing led to another. And 6 months later, you see the trailer there. Working really hard on it, getting tons of interviews. And I saw, Rob, that you were impressed to see Theo Fleury there. He plays a big role in this movie. I think you'll really enjoy it as well.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
the whole thing looks really, really professional.
No, Dean's there because I can hear a different sound going on. So
can you hear me?
Hi, Dean.
Hi.
Yes.
All right. Woo. That's embarrassing.
I'm happy to see that as a filmmaker, you understand microphones because that is important.
It's a tough one. Yeah. When Jason said he wanted to have audio on his movie, I was like, I don't know if I'm your guy.
Yeah.
But I think now that
let's one step at a time here.
Yeah.
Now that Jason mentioned which other documentary you actually worked on, or that you actually you released, they Ted Kuntz from Vaccine Choice Canada, obviously, and from NCI, because they showed that documentary when I was in Kitchener in the last NCI event that was in Kitchener last year, right? That was you that were showing your documentary.
Yep, and I was there. Yeah, I was there that night, and then you and I did have a conversation. I think you were going to have me on the show for that, but it just never happened. A lot of things going on in the world, but I'm happy to be here tonight.
That's how much my memory sucks. I'm sorry, bro.
No problem. It's great
but
to
here you are.
Go back to this. Yeah.
So why did you want to work with Jason? Because I do a lot of work with him, and you either like him or you don't, right? So what made you want to do work with him?
I mean, this is a first that I've ever collaborated like this. When I was releasing the movie Why Can't We Talk About This and going around to the screenings, a lot of people, like everybody at every screening, was saying, have you heard about Sean Hartman? Have you heard about Sean Hartman? And I'd say, yes, I've heard it. It's a terrible story. I didn't know till too late to tell the story. I was busy telling this one. That one needs to be told. And then sort of around the same time, Jason reached out and said, and I was surprised to hear from Jason because I had been following him with the COTS trials. I had been following his coverage of everything going on in Alberta, and I was really impressed. When he called me, I was like, oh, I've heard of you. I know you. I was a little excited. And I thought he did great on that coverage. And he said, okay, I'm coming to Ontario. I'm going to do this and interview Dan and a bunch of doctors. I'd like to interview you, talk about your movie. And so I had this really great time talking with Jason. And I said, okay, you're going to do a documentary. Like, I don't know if you've done one before. It's a lot of work, but, good on you. If I can support you, let me know. And then I kind of kept it in the back of my mind. And then as I did more screenings, people would say, hey, are you going to do Sean Hartman? And I said, nope, somebody's on it. Somebody's working on it. That story will get told. Don't worry. So I kept bugging Jason. How you doing? Are you coming along? Come along? Because I know he had a lot of issues at the time that he was dealing with. A lot of topics to cover. He's got a daily show and all this stuff. And so around Christmas time, I think right early December, I kind of reached out and I said, look, it's really a big job. Can be overwhelming. If you get stuck, I'm here. I want to help you tell this story. And so he just sort of said, okay, let's go for it. I'll handed it over to me and let me and my team kind of have a go at it. I was nervous because we've never worked together, and I'm doing something to see, can I be true to his interviews? He did some really great interviews with everybody involved. And so, yeah, we just had this partnership, and it's unusual for us, but I guess it's very 2026, right? Everybody working remotely and collaborating.
So you guys did not know each other prior to this. You guys had never worked together. Well, you knew who he was, but you're not friends or anything. and you said yes, and you're the one that did all the edits, because I do a lot of interviews, so I understand what that takes. I have my 3 cameras set up, all the lights. That I'm used to recording in person, but the edits, which I also do all of my content, is a fucking pain in the ass, and it takes forever to do edits. So an hour and a half documentary, you offered your services to edit that whole thing and piece it together. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I mean, the story had to be told, and he had some great interviews. When I heard he had Peter McCullough, Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. James Thorpe, he was going to get Theo Fleury. I was like, I got to be part of this, I think. And if I can help him, I certainly didn't want to step in and do anything. If he had a vision, but I know that this is a big task, and a lot of people think it maybe looks easy until you get under the hood. And then it's like, oh, you can just drown in all the footage and all the choices and everything. And I thought, well, I can just do some heavy lifting. You already have a vision for the story. Let me just have a crack at it, and then we can tweak it after there and this and that. And yeah, so it's worked out. I think we're both really, really happy with it. I think Dan's really happy with it. I just really think it's important. It's an important story.
Rob?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah. So this got, first of all, I mean, the doc looks really, really well done, guys. So great job on that. I'm definitely going to check it out. You're new to the show, Dean. I'm a common sense liberal and anti-woke liberal, but still, left of center. So my take is I'm probably the most normie on this issue. I certainly do not agree with much of what went down during the pandemic, and I've got a lot of questions. So I'm definitely going to check this out because you guys are probably more informed about that stuff than I am. Now, my question to you is, just judging by the content of the trailer there, a lot of those stories, the athletes going down during a game or the headlines, I certainly remember seeing a lot of those and thinking like, geez, there really is something going on. Now, just to put on my skeptical hat, is it possible that it's just some confirmation bias going on? It's those stories were always happening. It's just now they're getting airtime. Or do you guys have what are the numbers backing this up? Is there statistics showing that this kind of thing is happening? Because it certainly seems like it's happening anecdotally. But what are the numbers behind the anecdotes?
Peter McCullough did a full study on it. Sorry, Jason. I'll just add my bit and then you follow up. Peter McCullough did a whole study on it, and the numbers are there. I can't recite them here, but even just if you just run the numbers through, ChatGPT or Google search or Grok or whatever, you'll come up with, in the last 4 years, there's about 25 to 30 public professional athletes collapsing on the field. That's not off the field. That's not in the dressing room. That's not in practice. That is 25 in those 4 years. And I think before then it was like 2 or 3 in 15 years. So it's a dramatic spike. And I think we can all remember those happening.
Statistically, yeah, it certainly seemed like a lot. And I guess athletes, obviously they're healthy, but they probably would be more susceptible to issues of the heart because of what they do for a living. Their heart rates are probably going to be much higher than the average person.
And the youth too, because if you look at the numbers, you're talking 25 on the professional level. But if you look, I think it's in 2022, 2023, there's something like 1,800 reported case of athletes, not just professional, but amateur athlete, meaning high school, college, university, collapsing. Yeah, exactly. So the 25 is at the professional level, which was caught on camera for everybody to see. There's videos of referees just pooping in front of everybody, but off camera, there's reports almost 2,000 in the last few years. It's something that never used to happen, especially not for athletes. This is the problem. You're talking about people that are supposed to be the healthiest of the healthy, yet they're the one collapsing on the ground. That is very problematic, but it's not being addressed. So I'm happy that you guys are doing that documentary, because you're not going to get a lot of love for that documentary.
No.
And one thing that I really enjoyed working with Dean on was he's not a drama guy. He's not trying to put drama in there at all. Everything is backed by peer-reviewed papers, the FDA, news articles, and Dr. McCullough's work as well. Everything that's said in there is referenced. We've got lots and lots of scientific work, medical information in there. And it's not a drama piece, even though it is a tearjerker, because what we're dealing with is a loss of a son. There's actually 3 children in this documentary that we cover. We get into the autopsies as well, the legal filings as well, because there's 2 lawsuits involved here. So this is a well put together documentary that's well referenced. So Rob, I think what you're going to do is when you watch this, your skepticism is going to melt away, because we're not trying to, be a narrative here or counter narrative or anything like that. We're bringing forward the documents. We're bringing forward the information. Pfizer's own documents are in this documentary as well to back up what Dr. Thorpe was laying out for everybody. And what it is an increase in young men, especially when they have adrenaline that kicks in. It triggers, as Dr. McCullough lays out very clearly, a certain heart condition that will be fatal within 1 hour. And this is what the autopsy shows for Sean Hartman's death.
Yeah, we even had some stuff come up that I just kind of pushed back, and I don't think it's time for us to put this in yet because we just don't have the conclusive confirmation of this. So let's just hang on, because I don't want people to be poking holes in it. I want it to be airtight. I'm not, one thing that I kind of felt I could be safe with Jason was, I remember when we were doing my interview and we were talking about another topic that's controversial, and I said, I might like to do a story on that, a documentary on that. And he's like, well, are you interested in the story or the truth? And I said, well, the truth. And he says, okay, that's going to be a tricky one. And I was like, that's my guy, I think, because I'm just tired of the BS now. Life is stranger than fiction. I've always believed that. And so if I can stick to the truth, my films will go a lot further.
You and I will have to talk really hard on that, because I have. All I was going to say is you and I are going to have to talk, because I have a lot of good ideas for documentary, but I need somebody with balls, because there's not a lot of people out there that have the balls to just speak the truth. Because the topics that you're covering right now is something that's very close to my heart, because I lost everything over not taking it. I used to be a sales engineer making a killing. Now I don't get to do that because I chose my health over an experimental drug. So I do a lot of content on this. I had the pleasure to interview Aaron Siri. I don't know if you know who that guy is, but probably the leading expert lawyer in the US that is part of RFK Jr.'s team at the CDC that came up with the new guidelines for children vaccination. So I had the chance to speak with him a couple of weeks ago. And he said something I want to ask you guys, because as a lawyer, he kind of mentioned it. He didn't say that was actually the case, but he kind of made us read between the lines, because you guys know that since 1984, there's a protection in the US, and we have the same in Canada, that Pfizer's, for example, cannot be liable for their products' problems, as vaccine being the only industry in the world that is protected, that cannot be held accountable. They have immunity for their products. But what they did in the US is that they remove, I don't know if you're following the story, but they remove certain vaccines from the routine vaccine, because the amendment only protects the routine vaccine. So instead of fighting big pharma on the bill itself, they removed some of the vaccines from the routine, meaning that they no longer will be protected by the act that gives them immunity. And this, to me, and that's my question for you, Dean, especially, considering this is your second documentary on vaccination injury, do you think that this is something that should happen in Canada, where Pfizer and other big pharma should lose their immunity that they have, the protection that they have by government for their products?
Let's correct that, Nico.
Yeah.
Canada does not have that.
We don't have
you're
that.
actually correct on that. No, the US has that. There's a Supreme Court decision that removed the liability. That's true. That's in the documentary. Canada does not have that. It's why Pfizer is being sued by Dan Hartman.
They only had a contract. The contract.
Hold on.
Contract.
But they do have protection in Canada, for sure. They do. Why do you think VISP exists?
They have a contract that promises some immunity, but it's not a law. It's not a law. And if they break that contract, it's not a law like the 1984 Act that passed in the US. No. And we've not ever had a vaccine injury support program until this COVID. So we never had anything before. This came.
Since we're on the topic, Dean, can you go into that lawsuit a little bit, and where are we at right now with that?
Jason can probably speak to that better. Dan's lawsuit against Pfizer, which is another reason why this film is important, because this is ammo now for getting the word out, getting the issue out there.
Correct. So Ontario judge has ruled that this lawsuit can move forward against Pfizer because there is grounds to go ahead and do this. Pfizer has filed a defense just last month, and the next steps of the Pfizer portion of the lawsuit is moving forward. So there's going to be discovery and questions being asked and lots of things on the record coming out. The second lawsuit against the government of Canada in 2025, that was dismissed by a Liberal Ontario judge, claiming that the Health Canada, Government of Canada, does not have a duty of care to Canadians when it comes to doing things like issuing vaccines and allowing vaccines into the market. That has been under appeal, and just this Monday, the appeal was heard in the courts in Ontario. 3 judges are sitting there listening to it. All the arguments have been put in. Now we have to wait 3 to 4 months to get a decision on the appeal on whether or not the Government of Canada can be brought back to the table to continue that lawsuit. But Nico, the lawsuit for Pfizer has been approved to move ahead, and they are moving ahead, heading towards a judge trial on that.
That's fucking insane, Jason. What you just said about Health Canada?
Was that, Rob?
I was just saying that's insane. And I just want you to repeat that. So Health Canada, or the Government of Canada, has the power to force us to take a medication such as the vaccine, but at the same time, they do not have a duty of care. Like, as a legal standard, they do not have a duty of care. That seems like the bare fucking minimum if you're going to be forcing drugs on the population.
Rob, when a Liberal starts saying that kind of things, you make me very happy and excited, because you're absolutely correct, and we cover this in the documentary as well. How nonsense that is. Even on the U.S. side, they were shocked that that's the case as well. But there's an appeal. It's been argued just this Monday on the 26th. So we'll see more movement on that. And we are planning to have a second part to this movie, which is the legal side, how it goes through the courts and what comes out of it. So 2027 or so, we should have some more of those answers and bring them forward to you. But the good news is we also cover the product liability, Nico, in the U.S. side. And you're correct. The Supreme Court there made a decision that removed product liability for vaccines specifically. And Dr. McCullough goes into great detail about how horrible that is and how destructive it is. Because without product liability, you don't get improvements. Like in the automobile industry, there's product liability. They do recalls and fix things and get better and better. But with vaccines in the U.S., there is none of that. Dr. Thorpe goes into that as well in great detail on how important it is. And he actually provides to us, you're going to have to see the documentary on this, but he provides to us exactly what information was being given to the pharmacies and nurses and doctors out there when it came to the COVID side of things, the vaccine side of things. So I think you'll be quite surprised, Nico, at how well researched this is and how in depth we've gone with it. But in Canada, Pfizer can be sued. They are being sued. And you're going to see this continue in the courts.
But I don't want to make this show about an argument between you and I when it comes to this. But this is, I'm looking at the petitions right now that are in front of the government to remove the immunity that exists for and we're talking about COVID in this case. Obviously, that's what we're talking about. But they have immunity for COVID. There's a reason why VISP is funded by government money and not by big pharma.
The only immunity I've seen is in the purchase agreement. It's in a contract to buy product. That's where, and I showed that in my last documentary. So I think obviously, and if they're allowing the case to proceed, then it's not
that is very, you know what? I want to be wrong on that one. I really, really hope that I'm wrong, but all the research I've done has showed me that it was actually correct. You might be right that the act doesn't protect as much as what we see in the US by the act that was passed in 1984. But I know that through COVID, they could not be sued. So I'm very surprised to hear that they're able to get sued, that Pfizer is getting sued over a COVID shot. Because that is amazing fucking news, if you ask me. Because they should...
The fact that the judge let it go forward probably suggests...
Well, that's a great thing, because Ted Kuntz, one of the things he said that always stick to me is, if they could be sued, if Big Pharma was able to be sued for their vaccines, they'd go out of business. They would never be able to survive, and that's why they have immunities, because they can't survive without it. So I'm happy to hear. I'd love to be proved wrong on that one, because they need to be sued out of existence.
Well, Nico, I think you would probably enjoy reading the Pfizer's defense on this lawsuit. because they're pointing all fingers at the government of Canada. They're saying the government of Canada knew that this wasn't safe and effective. There was going to be damage from it, and they didn't provide that information. So the defense from Pfizer is to point all fingers at the government of Canada. And quite frankly, Pfizer has a bit of a defense there because they did provide that in their documentation, and Canada ignored it. So we now have double fingers pointing. Canada is saying no duty of care. Pfizer is saying it's all their fault. So I think you'll really enjoy the defense if you want to take a look at how we get this.
So Pfizer's basically saying, "Okay, don't blame us. We told Canada it was dangerous, and they said, yeah, don't worry about it. We don't have a duty of care anyways." That's
correct. That's where we kind of stand right now.
And this is beautiful because that means in discovery, they're going to have to show that paperwork. They will have to say and prove exactly what you're saying now, that we provided that information to the government of Canada. We cannot be held liable. They took the responsibility of coercing people into taking it. So we can't be, that is a massive fuckfest. That's even worse than Pfizer getting sued. For them to be able, because they're going to do it. Because again, if they don't, that means Pfizer vaccinate, the portion of Pfizer that does vaccinations going to go out the window and they're going to die. They're going to get sued into oblivion.
Correct. And those papers exist. And if you recall, they tried to have them sealed for 20 or 75 years. 75 years, But there was a whistleblower who leaked them, and those documents came out. They're not even denying those documents. They're actually pointing to those documents as evidence that Canada should have known better, basically, is what their defense is. Because that's what they showed in their trials. It wasn't safe and effective, and it was killing people. Detective Helen Gruss also makes an appearance in this documentary, where she says those Pfizer documents and Sean Hartman's story is what really triggered her to look into the baby deaths in Ottawa, which led to her entire tribunal situation, where she got shut down on doing an investigation into this. So I think you'll be very pleased with the research and work and testimonies and interviews in this particular documentary, because none of this is narrative or speculation. It's all there, and we provide it to you.
Well, you're talking to the leading experts. I know every single name that you mentioned. They are who's been very, very vocal about this from the get-go. This is nothing new. None of the names that you provided, like McKellar, has been saying it from the get-go. So
and one more thing, is very important that I think Rob will really respect. All of these doctors still have their licenses, or they've retired with their licenses. None of these doctors that we have in this movie have been had their licenses removed. They've all still acting, practicing, or recently retired. We were very careful on who we interviewed and put into this movie, because we didn't want, like Dean said, a bunch of holes being poked into it. So this is a documentary. It's a really good one. Dan calls it the most amazing documentary he's ever seen, and it's not because he's in it. It's because of the work that got put into it to actually make this true documentary.
I don't know if that was if that was props giving to Dean, or you're propping yourself on that one, Jason. I'm not sure.
Team effort.
No, it's just
either way.
We're not categorized as entertainment.
Himself on the back there.
It's very good. You're not biased at all.
To be fair, I would say certainly of anyone here, I'm and people like me are probably the audience for that documentary, right? People who are persuadable. I would not consider myself anti-vax, but I would consider myself vaccine skeptical. I'm certainly open. I just want to get it right. I just want to know where the facts are, and it's really hard to get clear, concise, accurate information. And there are a lot of the content on this issue on the left and the right. I've got a pretty good nose for bullshit and propaganda, and it's that goes off when I watch a lot of it. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing something where it's, where you went in with that mindset, where you didn't want to make a propaganda piece, where you just want to get to the truth of it.
Yeah, and I think we let the story play out. Like, we have a bit of time. And so you'll see as you watch the film, the messaging kind of changes. Like, now I know to judge any situation by the reaction to that situation. So when athletes started to go down, you look at the reaction around of everybody trying to cover that, to push you away from that, to normalize that, to minimize that. That to me is like a smoking gun. So I think because we're doing this, 4 years after the fact, we're able to look back and pull out all the milestones here, and you'll see the messaging change. You'll see things change, new information. Okay, well, we'll admit that now, but okay, we'll let that go, and it's quite eye-opening. Yeah.
Question for you, Dean, concerning, because now it's your second video. One of the things that I've noticed as someone that speaks about this all the time is the reaction of the people that got the vaccine. They don't want to believe this is true, and they want those stories to go away. They want us, how many times have I been told to move on? To literally, oh, this is in the past, just move on. Is that what you're getting? Is that the reaction of a lot of people to your documentary?
At first, yes, even family members. Full transparency, I have 2 of these shots. I was skeptical, but I couldn't handle the social pressure of my family. And we dragged our feet. We got a lot of heat for dragging our feet. My kids only got 1 shot. So I'm like, I'm not anti-vax. I mean, I'm highly skeptical now. I'm highly skeptical of it all now. But it's changed. The reaction has changed. At first, there was a lot of pushback. There was a lot of trolls, but they never argue. They don't have any points to make. They don't have any rebuttal. It's just emotion and insults. But then that just tapers off because they just they start to just see more and more evidence of it. Maybe they know people that now have it or themselves have experienced this. But I always say, I think there is an enormous amount of trauma attached to that entire pandemic. And yes, a lot of people, it is really hard because now they have to think, what's in my body? Am I a ticking time bomb? Could I go at any time? Am I going? Yeah. So it's a tough one for sure. But that's no reason to leave these people behind. People like Michael Ocean, my first movie, and Dan and Sean. It's no reason that we shouldn't be talking about this. We have to deal with it. So I guess we've all kind of collectively been going through the 5 stages of grief, and I don't know what stage we're at now, but hopefully it's like dialogue and acceptance and like, let's try to fix this. Let's never let this happen again. But, on a government level, we're not having those conversations. But yeah, it has changed because I got a lot of hate at first, and then it tapers off, and then I don't get any public love. Like people on Facebook don't say, "Hey, congratulations, well done." No, but privately, great job, your film, great job, it was really
congratulations, good. Dean, well fucking done. I'll give you some props right here. Good job.
So yeah. I mean, Dean, I feel like I'm very similar to the way you describe yourself, not necessarily anti-vax, but vaccine skeptical. I myself had 2 shots. I never got any boosters. But, one thing that we try to do on this show is even when we don't necessarily agree on everything, we try to find a common ground. And on this issue, the common ground that me and Nico have found, and I just want to take this quick question because it's related to this. PC Place says, I took the vaccine and I'm fine. Took 5 shots in total. And my position on all this is, at the end of the day, you can't have the government forcing a drug into people's bodies as a prerequisite to participate in society. It doesn't matter like that, and that's the common ground that I certainly me and Nico can agree on, and that's where I think we need to get to a place is even setting aside whether it was necessary, whether it was effective, whether it was safe. Even if it was 100% safe, it's just a really, really dangerous place to be when you've set a precedent that the government can demand that its citizens do something as personal as put a drug into their body against their will in order to participate in society. And I think no matter what your feelings on vaccines or the pandemic, I feel like any right-thinking person should agree with that.
Well, didn't we go through that in the Nuremberg trials? Didn't we all decide as a globe that we weren't going to do mandated medical procedures, but we've forgotten that? And
exactly, right?
Here we are.
And there was a time when 4 out of 5 doctors recommended Camel cigarettes, and time moved on, and then we all started to understand cigarettes were bad. We started to learn how the industry covered up that information, and not everybody who smoked ends up with cancer and dies from it. Just because a product is bad doesn't mean it kills everybody. So I'm glad there's a lot of people who were not affected by this particular product, but this whole story isn't an anti-vax story at all. One of the doctors took 2 of the vaxes as well, and all 3 of the main people in this movie took the vax for one reason or another, to play hockey, to travel, and because of peer pressure. So these are all about people who got harmed from it, Not everybody's going to get harmed. Not everybody's going to be injured. And that's great. I'm glad to hear that. But what we're focusing on is, why did these 3 people die? What does the autopsy say? What does the science say about it? And why is this not front page news at this stage? Because these were 17-year-old healthy people, and they're gone.
We have 2 American kids, right? Jason is alluding to the two girls from the U.S., Aubryn and Trista, 17-year-old. Again, one had to get vaccinated to go on a trip because the other state needed a mandate for the vaccine, and they were going to visit Niagara Falls, so they needed one to come into Canada. She got sick on the trip and came home, and boom, they had to take her emergency, and she did cardiac arrest again, and they lost her as well. And so that's just 3 in the movie that we know of, just from people we know.
And there's a montage of several hundred people too. And we could have made this whole movie a montage of the people that are injured. Dean reached out to a group and received a bunch of testimonials and pictures, and that's in there as well. But again, this isn't an anti-vax movie. This is about what happened to these 3 people, and let's talk about it.
The thing I hope that these type of documentaries will show is, love or hate Ron DeSantis. I remember when I was stuck in the woods by myself because I refused that vaccine and I was ostracized by society. I was looking at what he was doing in Florida. You want the vaccine? Awesome, it's available. You don't want it? No problem. Nobody can force you. You want your kids to stay home because you're scared of the unvaccinated? No problem. The school is available online. You want to send your kids to school because you believe that they should be around other children? No problem. Nobody can force you to get vaccinated in order to send your kids at school. This is how it should be.
That was the
this
right,
is how it
that was
should
the right
have
thing.
been.
That was the right
Exactly. This is how it should be. But good for you guys for doing the work, because I can only imagine how much hate you're going to get for it. And to finish, this is the perfect segue.
Yeah.
Diane is asking, how do we see this documentary? I know, Jason, you have the answer, so please answer Diane.
Yeah, Diane, go to supportsean.ca. You'll see the 6 screenings in Ontario that we're doing right in a week or so. I'll be doing a bunch across Alberta shortly after that. Dean's going to go all over Ontario as well. Maybe make his way up to Montreal so that Nico can see it. But for a few weeks, we'll be doing screenings, because this is to help fundraise for the legal portion of Dan's fight. And we want to make sure that we can go ahead and support him on that. We're not profiting from this, not a single penny. Everything that, all the expenses are going to be covered, and then everything else is going straight to Dan's legal. We will be doing a pay-per-view at some point, so you can see it digitally that way. And then eventually we'll release it completely for free for the entire public, because this needs to be part of the public record. And I do want to make something very, very clear. I will be flag coach, and I will definitely make sure.
I was going to say.
I'll flag coach, because I always flag coach.
The man of the people.
So can we see your expense report? Are we gonna have to see that expense report?
Yeah, no, we're being very good on this. Dean and I have covered everything up to this point. There's lots of costs to getting this thing done. I was traveling all over the country collecting his interviews, and this is part of our contribution to help Dan get to where he needs to get to with these lawsuits. He just got hit with another potential $46,000 of court costs if he doesn't win this appeal. So this is expensive. We're trying to help him out on this one because it's very important for Canadians, and as Dr. McCullough says, all of the world, that this lawsuit goes forward, because the U.S., they don't have this opportunity, but we need to break open that door. Dan's the one that's standing strong for that and fighting for that right now.
Well, I mean, it does seem like, there does need to be some sort of a, if you want to call it this, a truth and reconciliation here, right? And it doesn't need to be animosity. I know it was an emotional time, and I know as a lot of people still feel emotionally about it, but I feel like there would be a lot of value in just some group or something just approaching the issue the way that seems like you guys are doing, just kind of like not not looking to destroy people's lives or careers, but just saying, okay, here's what happened, here's what we did, and why did this happen, and how do we make sure this doesn't happen again?
Yeah, it's the greatest thing our entire globe has been through in 100 years, and we don't want to have a debrief on it. Like, what did we get right? What did we get wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
NCI is the best thing that's happened, but that's the citizens, and the government's not even acknowledging that or looking at that. Like, it's a big disappointment in both major parties right now, conservatives and liberals, that no one wants to address this. My first movie, I hurried up to get it ready for April because I thought naively, well, this could be an election issue, how it was all handled, and no, it wasn't. And if you want to look at all our problems, housing and, the economy and everything, you just look at those 4 years. We dumped unbelievable amounts of money in the most inefficient way. We distorted the economy. We distorted housing. A lot of our problems that we're suffering from today, mental health for the kids, even health and hospitals, it kind of ties back to those 4 years, those 3-4 years. And we won't fix these until we can look at that.
Yeah,
unfortunately, I don't think that part's gonna happen. It's too much of a accountability to require from the government, which this is not a political problem. As you said, this is something that both sides were pushing. It wasn't a left versus right issue. This was pushed by both people. Poilievre said himself that they weren't going out fast enough. We need more. So it's not a left versus right thing. You can't blame either party.
Well, even Donald Trump was
100%
pushing the vax at the time, right?
Operation Warp Speed was his program.
Yeah,
let's be
right.
clear, guys,
And
that was
that's
signed in
what,
2019. Operation Warp Speed was signed in 2019.
Yep. But that's just a coincidence, Jason. Stop it. Stop it with the conspiracy theories.
That's why I think there's actually space for this to be a depoliticized conversation, right? Because it was everybody. And I would think, even if I was, let's say, fully supportive of everything that the government did, I would still want something like this, because at the end of the day, they use up all their powder. If there's another, let's say, an actual pandemic that happens, let's say some new virus comes out that has a spread like COVID, but has a 60% mortality rate, and is the kind of thing that actually might require some sort of extreme measures, there's no way they're ever going to be able to get that done now, because no one has any trust in the government. No one has any trust in the system. And, something like this could go a long way towards rebuilding some amount of trust.
And so I think our movie and movies like ours is just important. I know the vaccine injured, they get impatient and they get heartbroken because they feel so left behind and just suffering in silence. They're stigmatized. They're, trolled. Everyone says, you don't have a problem. It's in your mind. It's not real, blah, blah, blah. And is this ever going to change? And honestly, the best I can say is just time. Time has to pass, but we're going to leave all this evidence. These films are like portraits of what has happened. And someday in the future, some next generation investigative reporter or some kids, journalists, they are going to uncover this like they do so many other issues from the past. And I mean, that's our only hope, is that we're leaving these records for people and these stories, so it's not forgotten. And these people aren't ultimately forgotten forever.
Support Sean.ca.
Yeah.
SUPPORTSEAN.ca is where you can go to
type that
see the screening date. See the screening date, or
I'll let people know the
Sean.
first 6. So February 8th will be in Barrie. February 9th will be in Ottawa. February 10th is Peterborough. February 11th is Whitby. February 12th is Hamilton. And February 13th will be Oakville. So if you're in those areas or you want to make your way to one of those areas, there's room, there's tickets, we can get you there. Dan Hartman will be at all of them except for Ottawa. Ottawa will have Detective Helen Gruss there as well. I'll be at all of them, and Dean will make his way to all but the Ottawa one. And Dr. Chris Shoemaker will join us from Ottawa and after that. So you'll be able to do some meet and greets with people in the movie. Shauna Carroll is actually coming up from the U.S. to be in Barrie on the 8th. So it's going to be a good time to come and meet these people, hear their stories directly, ask all the questions you want. And I think you're going to be quite pleasantly surprised with the actual effort put into this. Not a propaganda piece. It's not an anti-vax piece. It's not a string them up because we're mad piece. This is just the information, the autopsies, the science, the research, the peer reviews, and put together in a way that you can understand it and consume it. And it's 1 hour long, so it's not too long. But I think Dean has done a fantastic job on researching this one, and I'm very pleased and blessed at the interviews that we got and the information we received. And from who? It's a pretty good piece to put together. I'm very proud that we got this out, and I'm so glad how Dan's excited. It's not an emotion he's used to having, is being excited, but he's very excited right now to get this out there so people can understand what happened to us.
So guys, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for what you did. For the people listening, if you want to support Sean, go to supportsean.ca. And guys, thank you for being here, and best of luck on the documentary. Jason, obviously we're going to talk soon. Sean, Dean, we need to talk. So supportsean.ca. Dean, you and I need to talk too. So guys, good job.
Thank you guys.
Yeah. Thanks for your time, guys. We'd love to have you back on, especially once me and Nico both see the documentary. I'd love to have you guys on and to have a debrief on it. And Jason, I'd also like some updates on this lawsuit as they come out, if you wouldn't mind jumping on. I know it'll probably move pretty slow, but
yeah, maybe we can get Omar on, the lawyer for Dan. He'd probably have a great discussion with you guys. And Nico, then he would explain to you, how does this lawsuit work, where there's all of the statutes and issues out.
That part I'm very interested. The law part I'm very, very interested, because I was under the impression that it was not possible. So I'm very happy to be proven wrong. Yeah, this is one of those times I want to be proven wrong, because they deserve to get sued.
Yeah. And you'll probably enjoy reading that defense. They just point all fingers to the Canadian government. Guys.
Thank you. Thanks for everything you do and have a platform like this, guys.
That would be interesting.
Absolutely.
Bye, guys. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, appreciate your time, guys. We'll see you again soon.
Bye. There you have it.
Yeah, great.
I figured you'd enjoy that.
Great show, great interview.
So if you want to close it off, I think we're done. I think we're 20 minutes over, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, that one felt like the kind of show that you go a little bit over on. But yeah, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the interview there. Hopefully you learned a few things. I know, for me, I certainly learned some things, and I like hearing what's going on sort of behind the scenes and all that stuff. So we weren't able to get to as many questions as we normally do because we had some guests. But if you're just tuning in, this show is heavily based on audience participation. If you want to support the show, you can do so by becoming a member through YouTube for the low price of $2.99 per month. You can also buy us a coffee, which you see on your QR code in your upper left-hand corner. And of course, another way to support the show is just keep coming back. Throw those comments out there. Agree with us, disagree with us. We want to hear it. We don't really care if you agree with us or not. We just want to have a conversation. That's all the show's about. Just get common sense people from all over the left and the right who are just sick of politics as usual, trying to have the productive conversations that just aren't happening pretty much anywhere else. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that interview. Have a great rest of your night, and we will catch you tomorrow. No, that's the end of it. That's
Sunday,
the end of the week.
Sunday.
We'll catch you guys Sunday evening, and we kick off a new week.
Absolutely.
Be safe. Peace.